Welcome to episode 17 of the At Bat Baseball podcast presented by War Media, where we give you our thoughts on the latest Chicago baseball news as well as take a trip around the league. I am Saul Rodriguez along with Miles Porter. How are we doing today, man?
Doing good. Trade deadline coming up. Lots of talking going on with very beloved players in the Chicago land area again. So, it's that time of year where it's time to cry.
Oh hell, oh yeah. And then
Yeah.
and then I just noticed the fact that like our next episode is on the day of the deadline. So that's gonna
Yeah.
be it's gonna be really something to watch out for. But obviously we always start with the Miles corner. How did Miles and the Milwaukee Jaguars do this weekend, man?
Hey, we had a little bit of a tough game this weekend against Rivermen of Waterford. We lost 5-11. They had a good pitcher on the mound. We faced them. We faced the same team on opening day, and came with a W. I think they learned a lot from the last time we played them. Had we won that game, we would have been tied for first place, but that's okay. We got two big divisional games coming up this weekend, and playoffs are right around the corner. The All-Star game is right before that, so we are very locked in on finishing strong and trying to bring it home with a chip this year before we move leagues next year. We're moving up a league next year, so that's exciting. We're still going to be in the same league that we're in, but we're also going to play in the Wisconsin State League, which is a very competitive semi-pro league. So we're excited for that, and trying to finish out this year strong.
Talking about finishing strong, you've just been playing strong the whole season. As I was looking at your stat page, bro, and 1575 OPS. You're playing, bro. You got better numbers than Mike Trout right now, bro. It's true.
Hey, man. Hey, just working hard this in the off season, trying to create more opportunities for myself. So it's paid off so far. So I'm happy about that. Still grinding.
Hell yeah, no, yeah, that's what it's all about, man. No, there's no cap to success. You gotta keep going. There you go.
Right? Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, so we're gonna start off today with the White Sox, and of course the All-Star break is come and gone. And we'll get to the All-Star game after we talk about the Cubs and the White Sox. Because obviously there's plenty to talk about the All-Star game. It's pretty cool event. For the White Sox, they started the second half kind of the same way that the first half not necessarily ended, but just how the first half went. And that was splitting a 4-game series with the Cleveland Guardians 2 games apiece. Now they started the series. They started that series losing to 2 straight. Were able to bounce back and win the next 2. One key day out of that was the doubleheader. In the win, Lane was able to finally have one of his best starts, if not his best start of the season. In that 5-4 Sox win. Josh Harrison had a great catch to end the game. Moncada drove in 2. And Yohan Moncada, man, he's been killing it since it's been in his last 7 games. He's got a Miles like OPS 1253 on there, and in that loss, Johnny Cueto with another quality start, his 10th of the season, which is crazy to hear. Sox lost that one 7-4. Man, Tristan McKenzie has been on fire. And when you look at the numbers, I mean, you could have easily seen him also make the All-Star team, man. But yeah, he had going into that start against the Sox, it's 24 straight scoreless innings until the 4th inning when Grandal knocked someone in. But yeah, the what I thought about the Guardians doing this series overall was they don't strike out a lot, and they had a lot of hits in the series in general with 2 strikes.
Yep.
Like they do that a lot, and also we talked a bit of Steven Quan at the beginning of the season. The first week he was on fire, and actually when you look back at his numbers, he's had a solid campaign so far.
Yeah.
Hitting 285. He's got a 364 on base percentage and an OPS plus of 111. So as much as he's not, Mike Trout, the way he looked at, Aaron Judge, with how he looked in the first week of the season with those numbers he was putting up,
Right.
but he's been pretty solid part of that team. In the finale against the Guardians, the Sox had Dylan Cease and he outdueled Shane Bieber, so that was also good to see. It's just Cease, going out there again and showing why he could have easily been at the All-Star game. I mean, he lowered his ERA to 2.03. he's just nasty. And one of the nastiest things I seen when I saw his when I was looking at his profile was the fact that he has not given up more than one earned run since May 24th,
Yep.
and it's either been one earned or nothing since then. And he's K'd 8 or more in 7 of his last 8 starts. So I mean, it it's just video game stuff. But when it comes to the Sox and the way that they played the Guardians in that series, it's just same old, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And it's very tough to watch in a sense of because there's so many great things we're highlighting right now about this team. I said this, in the a few weeks ago. I said it in the beginning of the year when they started struggling. Then this team is so talented. I think it's just a matter of just finding that consistency because when they win, they're a very dominant team, in my opinion. When everything is clicking on all cylinders, when the pitching is doing well, we see Moncada heating up and everything. There's so many great things to take away from this White Sox team. I think it's just a matter of finding that consistency, and we are at the point where okay, let's try to find that soon so they can start making a run. They can start making some sort of deep run going forward. I know there's a lot of White Sox fans right now that are very fed up. I know there are a lot of White Sox fans that have a lot of critiques and they would do things differently. All very understandable. I think it's just like I keep saying, I look at the pieces of this team. Hopefully, they can make some sort of big splash at the deadline. I think that is one thing that they do need. Offensively, maybe. I think maybe adding one more person, one more solid arm to that staff, maybe an arm or two to that bullpen as well. I think that's going to help them going forward. But um, we'll see. We'll see. This is a team that is still very, very talented. They've been sitting at 500 this entire year. They just need that extra push to keep going forward. So, let's see what happens at the trade deadline. I'm hoping that they make moves that benefit them, and I think it's cool that the deadline is a few days later this year. So, that gives teams a couple more days to kind of strategize, and let's see what unfolds. But there's no reason why this White Sox team doesn't make a push. I think it's just a mental thing at this point.
Yeah, and also I mean they're still like in the thick of the race, obviously, with being 4 games back of the Central, and I believe it's just 3.5 games out of the wild card. Yeah, out of the third wild card spot. So I mean, everything's in their hands. To be able to get back, towards the top of that and be able to make a run. And the thing is like I was also wondering is what they kind of are on the search for. What could really because yeah, as you said it, they could add a bat. You know what I'm saying? But it's like you almost look at them and you're like, man, they could use something everywhere, right? And it's like that doesn't necessarily sound like a good thing because then it's like where do you fill in the spot? But
Right.
I think the pitching is the one that you can almost always like depend on, regardless of how the guy's going. Like I know Lucas Giolito is struggling, but you have that. What Lucas Giolito is. You know that maybe he'll have a great run in September, going into October. Like you just know the type of stuff he has, so you could depend on that. When it comes to the offense, so that's the problem, and I think that's the one where they would have to find a bat or even the bullpen too as well. Because like I was thinking, I know that earlier in the season, Frankie Montas was thrown around, and I know his health is kind of in question right now. But that's one of the guys the Sox were considering, and I haven't heard much since that. So I think I wonder what the Sox are thinking in that perspective. But I was thinking too that Vogelbach was a guy that for the Sox that would have been good to see. I know when I
Yeah,
had Chris
absolutely.
Pennant Chris Pennant on, we talked about it and stuff like that. So
Yeah, absolutely.
that would have been it's like you guy you buy low on, and he's like he's having a solid season. So
Yeah.
definitely a guy that they would consider. But I mean, there's also just plenty of guys out there the Sox could get that they wouldn't have to give up a lot for. Trey
Hmm.
Mancini, for example,
Yeah.
obviously he would DH for
Right.
them and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Hell, even Patrick Wisdom, for example, right, from us. So
Oh,
definitely, there's guys out there that they're able to get, and not it wouldn't cost a lot.
yeah.
Um, but when it comes to the races, It it just like when it comes to like the AL Central, and I just look at it, and it's just like I don't necessarily see the Twins falling out of that number one spot, and I still see the Sox, and they're going to end up being like a wild card team if they make it in. Um, but I mean, hey, like I said, they got it all in their hands, and it all comes down to how they do and what they do at the deadline too. So,
Yeah,
in that finale, the Sox ended up winning 6-3. They got home runs from Leury Garcia, AJ Pollock, and Eloy Jimenez. Eloy Jimenez has been looking like himself since coming back from the IL. Hitting bombs. But yeah, the Guardians against the Guardians, the Sox are 5-8 this season. I think that says a lot about where they're at in the standings and just where they are at in general.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
they now will go ahead and play 2 games at Colorado and then 3 games at Oakland. That Colorado series obviously could go either way because we always say playing at Coors is just like it's random. Anything can happen. And then 3 at Oakland. That's just a series the Sox gotta have. But looking ahead, how do you see the Sox matching up with these two teams over the next week?
yeah. I think on paper it's so easy to say that the White Sox are going to go into these series and pretty much just mop the floor. Um, but it's baseball. We've seen a lot of I wouldn't really call them upsets. Not really during not with the way the MLB schedule is set up. Um, I think anything can happen, but at the same time, you go to somewhere like Coors Field in Colorado. The White Sox are very dominant team offensively, so I'm hoping that they are kind of able to overwhelm the Rockies a bit. Um, the guys who are able to elevate the ball, hit the ball in the air with a lot of authority. You know, that's one of the main keys of playing at that stadium. I look at someone like Eloy Jimenez. For me, if I'm his hitting coach, I'm like, find something up and just elevate it. Just elevate it the best you can. It doesn't matter to which part of the field you're hitting it to. At this stadium, if you get the ball in the air, even if you drive the ball the other way, if you shoot for dead center, you got a chance, or you're going to hit the ball over someone's head. I think that's the main thing, and also making sure Moncada stays hot. And the pitcher's keeping the ball on the ground. That's a big thing there. Keep the ball out of the air, just like I was talking about for the White Sox, for them to hit the ball in the air. Pitcher's got to keep the ball out of the air. Any sort of fly ball is fair game. Um, Chris Bryant's having a very good year. That's no secret, along with a few other players in that Rockies lineup. So I think keep the ball out of the air because that's the Rockets are a team that can still hit. Look at the Athletics. There's not too much to say there. They're coming. I think it's a matter of just dominate at home. They're coming to us. So I don't see a reason why the White Sox do not defeat the Athletics, a team that's kind of blown up this year in a sense. So I'm feeling good about these next few series. I think the Sox, like you said last week, they have a pretty easy schedule going forward. And I think this is the time when you take advantage of it. Take advantage of these two series. Get some momentum going so you guys start feeling better about yourselves.
Yeah, and we talked about it before the All Star break is the fact that they have one of the most, if not the most favorable schedule in the second half. Um, and obviously we said easier said than done, right? But when you're a team like the White Sox with the pieces you
Yeah,
have,
yeah,
yeah, it's easy to be like, hey, they should be able to do this and they should be able to beat these teams.
yeah,
And you got to have some confidence. I think they will going into those series, but they just got to execute. It's really all. It's really just to seem like the problem for the Sox this year has just been execution, right?
yeah.
Because
That's it. Yeah.
they obviously got the guys, but when it comes down to playing that series and playing those,
Hmm.
hitting those pitchers, it's a different story. So, yeah, and the thing with the A's too, talking a little bit about them and just the fact that that's another team that is going to obviously sell, and they have besides Montes, as I mentioned before. Actually, Ramon Laureano is actually somebody I feel like also that the Sox could get, and it
Yeah.
wouldn't cost them a lot.
Right.
So that's it's a guy that can play defense and hit and do a lot of things. So it's another guy to have on your mind as the All Star, as the trade deadline approaches. All right, so now we'll switch over to the Cubs, who are now 39-57. They started off their second half on a high note for as much as you can for them, but it's a 5-game winning streak. So, hell is frozen over. Uh, it's, just like it happened a few weeks ago where they won, I think, how many was it? Like 6 games or something in a row. I think it was
Yeah.
around the same. I was like, what's going on? But whatever. Enjoy the ride while you can. Um,
Right.
they came in and swept the Phillies. And I mean, if that doesn't say, it says more about the Phillies than it does the Cubs, obviously, and just how where they're at. And I was like, man, that's rough because
Yeah.
I was honestly expecting to go into Philadelphia and lose 2 out of 3 or something just because they mash. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and and we went in there and just smoked them. So
Right.
you know. Seiya Suzuki continues to rake off the injured list, and
Yes.
he was a big problem. He was a big problem for the Phillies.
Mhm.
In game one, the Cubs blew him out. Nelson Velasquez 2 home runs. Suzuki with his home run. Wilson
Jeez.
Contreras was his home run, and
Dogs.
Suzuki and Happ they each had 4 hits.
Yeah.
I believe in that game it was like 19 hits the Cubs had or something like that.
Yeah.
In game two, the Cubs outlasted the Phils in extra innings. Nico Horner was involved in 2 of the biggest plays of the game, the
Oh,
home run and the stolen base. And we talk about Nico Horner. I mean, with that
homie.
guy, and we saw it, and you saw it in person on Monday night.
Yeah.
Like the way that guy impacts games is insane,
Yeah.
and we saw it, perfectly in this game two against the Phillies, particularly also, besides the one on Monday. But that game two against the Phillies, got a hit,
Yeah.
stole a base,
Mm-hmm.
and ended up being the game winning run. So
Yep.
it's like, or at least the go ahead run in the 10th, but eventually the game winning run. But just the way that he plays the game and impacts it, it's been awesome all around. In game three, Yan Gomes homers twice. That was
Yeah.
that was crazy.
Love that.
Drew Smiley goes 6 strong innings.
Yep.
And the Cubs complete the sweep. Nelson Velasquez hit another home run. He's got 5. He's got 19. And there's another thing too. That guy's pop is crazy. And the thing is,
Yeah.
I didn't know if it would translate to the big leagues because
Mm-hmm.
last season I believe he had over 20, something like that. Could be wrong,
Yeah. Yeah.
but this year he has a total of 19, including the big leagues.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's looking pretty good. I mean, he the numbers aren't all there, but his power has been something to be proud of there. And then of course, like I said, game one that you were at against the Pirates,
Yeah.
Nico Horner added again 2 RBIs, including the game-winning hit.
My man.
Adrian Sampson 7 innings, 2 earned runs.
Yeah.
And Samson's been good too, man. He's got a FIP of
Been, yeah.
365 and 5
Yeah.
starts with us. So, yeah, it's been good to see that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Very, very
overall
well
during the
said.
stretch, there's been a lot of good stuff. But one of the things that I thought about too was, man, Wilson Contreras and Ian Happ, they are raking
Yeah.
to basically end their Cubs tenure. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, obviously, like we mentioned a little bit about Nico and yeah, Happ and Contreras Suzuki just raking.
Yeah. I'm gonna be very, very honest about the Wilson Contreras and the Ian Happ um scenario right now. I think you know we're gonna lose at least one of them. At least one of them are gonna be dealt with at the deadline. Um, I respect the Cubs management for really looking towards the future and trying to build this team into uh you know something that we were a few years ago. Now here is my concern. Here is my honest opinion about it. How much more do we need to get rid of? How much more of this veteran presence do we need to get rid of? Now it is great for us to keep bringing in young talent, getting and dealing guys who have had so much success, at the big league level. So players that we've grown to love in Wilson and Ian Happ. How much more though? How much more? At some point, these are some players that I think it'd be very good to build around. If not Wilson, I think Ian Happ is a great player for the Cubs to continue to build around in terms of that leadership in the dugout. Now, Hayward isn't going anywhere for at least another year. We know that. Um, but I think in terms of a player who is playing every day and who has had that offensive and defensive presence, that these are guys who I think it is worth keeping around. I look at teams like the Reds who have kept Joey Votto around no matter how great or bad they have been. The Cardinals or the Yadier Molina. There's many examples that I could think of teams keeping core guys to build around with young talent. I just how much more are we gonna ship? How much more? Because if this doesn't work out 3-4 years from now, these guys are gonna hear it. This management is gonna hear it. They're gonna be held accountable, rightfully so. Was it not enough with Javi, KB, and Riz last year? Um, how much more? How much more? And if we are going to do this, if we're just going to continue to blow up this roster, I hope they are what we get in return. It's not me doubting the prospects or anything. I think every prospect is talented and has potential. I hope we properly develop these players because then we'll be doing not only the players an injustice, we'll be doing the fans an injustice and the current players on the MLB roster. That is where I stand with all this. Don't just blow up this roster and expect to get these prospects and everything's gonna, go smoothly. Develop these young players. Really try to build something strong here for the Cubs to be successful in the future. If not, then we're just getting rid of players and nothing's gonna change. That is where I am. Keep my fingers crossed for this to work at every single angle with the players, with the management. Hope it works out for the fans, for Wrigley Field. I'm hoping that this all kind of plays out the way it's supposed to, because if not, someone's going to be held accountable, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. Fans should be frustrated. Players should be frustrated. It says a lot for players like Wilson and Ian who say Wilson being emotional when talking about it. I think that says a lot. As a player who's so talented, who's brought to tears about the possibility of him leaving. My opinion, that's the guy you keep around. Same thing with Ian. So, let's see what happens.
No, yeah, I mean, you made great points, and just the fact that and it's funny because the management is already hearing it, right? It's like just hearing like the fact that why are you training this guy?
Yeah,
Extend these guys.
I don't think
Like
it's worth it.
Yeah, they're already hearing it. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know how much more or what exactly is going to happen, but it just feels like inevitable at this point. That's why
yeah,
it's just the way it is. It is rough to see like a guy like Wilson. The dude wears his emotions on his sleeve, and the fact like seeing how much he loves the city, seeing how much he loves the team. Yeah, it does
yeah.
make you think like, damn, like why get rid of a dude like this? Like this
Right.
dude will go to war for you, for your city, for your team any day of the week. So
Yeah,
it's yeah. I mean, and the thing is too is like as if you were gonna deal these guys, it seems like that packaging them up is probably the smartest thing to do, and that looks like it's what it's going to happen. I mean, it
yeah,
looks like it. I mean, the Padres are interested in getting Wilson and Ian Happ in the same
yeah,
deal,
yeah,
um, and I think that would get us a pretty good stack, especially from the Padres. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's just tough to be like super happy about them departing when you just know that what they could have been, and like the
yeah,
thing is, and I've said it before, is like uh I think that the Cubs don't want to spend the money on Contreras
right.
because of his age, etc. They just don't see it, like they don't see it. Is
Hard
what
hit.
to what I, how I receive it, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
with Ian Happ, like that's the one I don't get. Like he's every time the dude plays, he's put up great numbers.
yeah,
He's even improved defensively. Not that it's a crazy mark or anything, but that's the one. Like his
yeah.
age, he would be cheap for the Cubs. Like I don't understand, um, why
We're gonna
not
get rid
try?
of a core young player to get
Yeah,
more young players, but we haven't taken good care of our
yeah,
young players. I look at Pete
hmm
Crow Armstrong, and there's multiple other prospects right now who either aren't hitting well or they're injured.
yeah.
That's where I'm very, very worried. I look at like Brent Davis, I look at Miguel Amaya, and then another prospect, another pitching prospect. He's having shoulder surgery. Forgot his name.
Was it
I
Braylon
just
Marquez?
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just How much, man? How much?
Yeah, it's just the whole thing. It's like here we go again type thing, and it's always like
Yeah,
that's probably why it's like such a tiring such a tired
yeah,
topic and stuff like that. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's definitely something we'll be talking a lot about in the next couple episodes.
Take care of
And I'm
these young players. If we're gonna
yeah,
do it, make sure we're taking good care of these guys.
yeah, and the thing is, like, I hope so. I hope that the Cubs see that some of the players they've have had in their system and have not been able to get up to the big leagues yet, and think like, maybe did we do something? Have we done something wrong up to this point? How can
Yeah,
we be better and help them
yeah.
out? So, yeah. But moving on to, and actually, I'm gonna cut it off there so that I can, because we got 2 minutes left. So I'm gonna cut
Cool.
off
Yeah,
there
yeah.
and invite you again. All right, so we'll just go into the upcoming week and the rest of the Pirate series and the Giants. All right,
Cool. These go by quick, bro. I didn't realize that was already 40
dude, for
minutes.
real.
I'm like, that's
I know, I
what?
know. It always gives me like a ton of breaks, bro. I'm just like chilling on my own business, and then boom, the
Yeah,
notification.
bro. I'm
The
enjoying
game's
it, man. I'm
going.
enjoying doing this. Yeah, I'm like,
For real,
damn,
but
40
that's
minutes
probably why too.
already?
That's probably right too, right? When you're like shooting the shit, like talking about fucking something you like, it's like time flies by, bro.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
That's probably why. All right, here we go. All right, and now let's look at the rest of the week for the Cubs. They're playing one more against Pittsburgh. That's actually happening right now as we record on Tuesday,
Yeah, I
and then
was
they
gonna
play
go to that
four
game.
more. Yeah, four more in San Francisco. So what do you think about the rest of the week? I think, or how do you feel about the this series against the Pirates, and what kind of little statement they can make for third place as much as they can, right? Like, if they want to take third place, this is a good place to start. And how do you feel about them traveling to San Francisco? I think they have a Apple TV Plus game on Friday, and then a Sunday night baseball game. So it'll be a good series against the
Yeah,
team that's on the bubble, the Giants. And
yeah.
just another opportunity for the Cubs to play. Spoiler, I guess. Or,
Yeah, yeah. I think take care of business today at Wrigley. This is it for Ian and
yeah.
Wilson. Let's send them off. Let's send them off on a high note. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I feel good about the Cubs right now at home. I think going into San Francisco, that is going to be quite a challenge for the Cubs, but they're more than capable of playing spoiler like they always have. So I think take care of business here at Wrigley today. Complete this 2-game sweep. But I love Keegan Thompson on the mound. I think he's gonna take care of business like he has to. And just going forward with that series in San Francisco, expect the battle. Don't take any moments for granted. Be a little bit smarter on the base paths. If there's one thing I noticed
Yeah.
at the game yesterday is that the Cubs were very aggressive, very very good. I like that. It was clear that they were testing the catcher. It was clear that they were testing the outfielders a little bit because the Cubs do have some speed, and I don't think there was really any outfielder yesterday arm wise that stood out to me. But I think just be smart on the base paths, especially when you're in San Francisco. They're very big ballpark, very big field with like a lot of wide dimensions. Take bases when it's necessary, but in this game today at Wrigley, be a little bit smarter on the base paths. Respect the catcher a little bit more. I think the Cubs are more than capable of taking care of business today at Wrigley. Obviously, we don't know the Pirates are the Pirates against the Cubs, and going in San Francisco, that'll be a little bit more of a challenge. But the Cubs just got to hang in there and pull out what they can.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like that's I think that's what separates good teams from bad teams is when you see some of the fundamental play, and like
Yeah,
we saw it in Philadelphia. I mean, the defense that the Phillies played has been a problem the whole season,
yeah,
and the Giants probably have one of the worst, even worse, maybe even worse. Like, I haven't checked the numbers than the Phillies, and that's kind of been their downfall. They've been, I think, like they're like 28th in fielding percentage, and have a high number of errors, and it's just been a tough go there. But yeah, the Cubs need to be better on the base paths, and definitely respect more of the catcher for sure. Um, Also, we will now talk about the rest of the league, and into that, we'll talk a little bit. We'll go backwards a bit and talk about the All Star game and just our overall thoughts. Now, Chicago had they had a good time. They had a good time at the All Star game because Tim Anderson got a hit, Liam Hendricks got an out, uh, um, Ian Happ got on base. With I think he had a walk. I guess just the only zeros were Wilson didn't get a hit, and then um, I forgot. I think was there one more Sox guy I'm thinking about? No, yeah, that was it. So Wilson, went 0 for 2. So yeah, just overall thoughts on the All-Star game, man. What did you think about the mic'd up? Because I think that honestly was the best part of the game, just hearing the guys and hearing people talk about what was going on, and the pitcher and the catcher talking to each other. Like what was your favorite parts of the All-Star game?
Oh gosh, I think, and there's a lot of people who agree with this. I had some friends over the other day who were watching the All Star game with me. It is the best All Star game in sports because it's not the kind of sport where you can kind of just whatever things. That was one of the most competitive games of the year. It was awesome. It was very pitching heavy. I think I love them. I love players being mic'd up and talking to each other while talking to the announcers. It's such a great showcase for baseball. It's really the best of the best, being showcased to the world. I thought it was a great All Star game this year. I do want to see the NL win because it's just like you think we're gonna win, and then 3-run homer, no 2-run homer, and then another bomb to foul, and they're just like, okay, maybe next year. Because after that, there
Yeah.
really wasn't any fight that was put up. But it was incredible this year. I absolutely loved it. I just love seeing the guys on the mound pitch. I love seeing Manoa go to work on the mound. I loved hearing Hendricks talk while going. It was just so fun. It was awesome. So I think so many great things to highlight from this All Star game. So it's just please MLB keep going with this and keep building off of that because that's great for the game of baseball.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, probably when it comes to of like maybe not necessarily in gameplay, but one of my favorite All Star games when it comes to like everything else, like the mic'd up stuff, and we really heard so much, and I feel like even I watched like a video of just like the mic'd up parts, not even like of the game, like highlights of the mic'd up, and I'm like, dang, like there was so much, and it was so fun, and hearing that and seeing that, and but yeah, no, I mean, as you said, as NL guys, yeah, I mean, it. I honestly feel like I was telling my friends that I was like, bro, like it feels like it's the same thing every year, right? The NL takes the lead, get a
Yeah,
run or two,
yeah,
and then the AL hits like 3 home runs, and then they ended up winning. It's like,
yeah,
and the thing is, it's like they've. I think the NL has only won 2 out of the last like 14 or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like that's
Great numbers.
disgusting. Like that's just, like that's just, and what's funny too is, um, because they've talked about this before, is that the AL has just been dominating this century in the All Star game, but
Mhm.
apparently the NL dominated like in like the 80s and 70s or something like that. Like they had a stretch too where they won like 10 in a
Right.
row or something. So
Yeah.
we just have that luck of being born in the wrong time for the NL, and we're never seeing the that type of stuff. But hey,
A lot of
the way
success
I
in the World Series, though. At least a lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
NL
yeah.
wins. Yeah.
I was gonna say. Well, we do have this success of the Cubs winning the World Series and the NL just being so good in the World Series,
Right. Right. Right.
where it matters, which is kind of funny because
Right.
they used to have like obviously they used to have the home field advantage thing, which now they
Right.
don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's kind of that is pretty funny. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's also, what did you think about the obviously it almost happened, but the AL 132. But if they would have been tied after 9 innings, they would have done that home run derby style like tiebreaker. Like, what did you think about that? And like, I think the AL had like Julio Rodriguez, or not, yeah, Julio Rodriguez. I think it was Ty France and somebody else I forgot. Or Devers, I think, or Stanton. Anyways, whatever. But I think the NL had Pete Alonso, and some other guys. Like, what were your thoughts on that situation? Did you want to see
Oh my God.
that?
Let me tell you how lit that would have been. That would have been so cool. That's like some Savannah Bananas type stuff. For
Yeah,
those who don't know the Savannah Bananas, please do your research. They
yeah,
are so
YouTube it.
fun. That is one
Hmm.
of the most fun versions of baseball I've ever seen in my entire life. That would have been so cool. And I'm hoping that with how there has been a lot of solid pitching in the All Star game the past few years, I'm hoping that next year we do go into extras because that would be so cool. I think it would have been. I think that would have kind of stretched the outreach of baseball alone, just in those moments right there. Um, because you have the All Star game, and then you kind of have another home run derby in the same day, in the same night, the same evening. So that would have been so cool. I was hoping that that game would have got tied up, and then we would have gone into that because that would have been sick. So I'm hoping for that next year.
Yeah, no, I mean that when I saw that, the fact that they announced that the day of and leading up to that, excuse me, that was pretty cool. I mean, I definitely want to see that so bad, and obviously it would have benefited us. It would have benefited the NL, being able to tie it in the bottom of the inning. And you know what
Yeah,
sucked too was the fact that Ian Happ was left on the on deck circle, and like I was like, man, it
yeah,
would have been so sick if he would have gone up there to tie it or to win it, I guess. But
yeah.
yeah, no, it's another good year of All Star events, and yeah, I mean, as you said it, best All Star game bar none. Like
Yeah.
it's not even like a bias thing, bro. Like it just
Right.
is.
No, it's
It is. It just is. Like
yeah, yeah,
I actually I like the MLS one. I'm a soccer guy. I
yeah.
like the MLS one because they
Mm-hmm.
play against like one of the best teams in the world. Like
Yeah.
that's cool and all, but still, it does not match when it comes to talent. Like at the end of the day, it's still mostly MLS guys. No offense, but it's just compared to those best teams in the world, it just
Yeah.
it just doesn't equate to that. But um, when I talk about other All Star games too, the NHL one's not bad either. They've improved it over the years
Right.
with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
3-on-3 stuff and the
Yeah.
tournament. But again, still, it's not the same. And they still are pretty chill about it. Like they're not hitting each other and stuff. Like it's not a real
Right.
game.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's
Yeah.
like in baseball, you just can't fake it. You know what I mean? It's like you
Yeah.
have to go up there. And even if a dude's throwing you a meatball, it's not like you're like I'm gonna crush this. You gotta go out there and do it. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so um yeah, I think it definitely is the best All Star game, no doubt about it. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and it's cool that they're experimenting with it too, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't um like it doesn't affect anything with the home field advantage as it used to. So it's cool that they're doing stuff, like the home run derby to break the tie and stuff like that. So hopefully MLB continues to do stuff like that, and stuff that will make it more fun. So um, another thing I wanted to talk about, get your thoughts on, was over the weekend was the Hall of Fame induction, and they inducted David Ortiz, Jim Katz, Tony Oliva, and many more. But we can really only talk about David Ortiz because we saw him play, um, and I think that's pretty cool to say. Every time you talk about a Hall of Famer and that you saw him play, um, but we'll start off with you, man. Like I have a couple of moments in my head of some of my favorite Big Poppy moments. But what would you
Oh
say?
gosh.
Not only what you love about the guy, but what do you say is some of your favorite moments about Big Poppy?
Oh gosh. I don't even know if I can point to one moment for Big Poppy. I'm such a fan. There's so much of my game that has been influenced by him. I gotta say, like, oh god, I can't point to one. There's been so many playoff home runs and hits that he's had. I'll say this: one of my favorite seasons from him was in 2005 and in 2006. Um, in 2005, he had 47 home runs and 148 driven in. Good God! The next year, he popped 54 and drove in 137. And it's I just his whole impact on the game is just incredible. His outreach is ridiculous. I think who he is as a person, and who he was as a teammate, and the joy that he brought to the game is just it's something that you cannot you can't overlook. To be that talented and then to be that great of a person, I just wow. I admired everything that he did. I admired him such so much as a player, and still do. And I had the chance to meet him when I was younger, when the Red Sox came to Wrigley, and he's one of my favorite players ever. And So to see him get inducted into the Hall of Fame is just for me. There's nothing more that makes me happy. So I just very well deserved. We all knew it was coming. It was inevitable. So this is just huge, and it brings me so much joy. Unfortunately, the Red Sox got absolutely stomped during that weekend. So that is one of the things that you don't even want to think about or highlight. But Big Poppy for not only baseball, his outreach in the sports world, and makes me so happy. Makes me so happy. I cannot go on enough about this. So this makes me so happy.
No, yeah, it's awesome, and seeing a guy like that, get in, and for how much joy he brought to fans watching the games,
Yeah,
it's well deserved, and it's just awesome. And the thing is too is like, as you said, that there's a lot of moments that you could pick from this guy, like just endless. Um, but I
gosh,
think the one that honestly the one that sticks in my head the most, um, and to be honest, I wish I was like watching, because I mean I officially watched and started baseball like oh 05, oh 06, where I avidly started watching baseball. I
right?
wish I was around for the oh 04 so that I could have watched that comeback. I didn't watch that the comeback from the Red Sox, and coming back from 3-zip. But that hit that he had in game 4 to continue that game and stuff, that's pretty awesome. But what I did see was part of the 2013 run when they were facing the Tigers in the ALCS, and were facing a Tigers team that had a depleted bullpen. It was a bullpen that was not dependable at all, and Ortiz went up there and hit a game tying grand slam. It was 5, yeah, it was 5-1 in the eighth. Hit a
Yep,
game tying grand
yep,
slam, and that was just like one of the sickest things. And it was funny because at the time it's like the Cubs were so bad, and I'm just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I love to cling on, on the on the cape of another team, just hang on,
yeah,
and that was the thing with the Red Sox that year too. And yeah, I mean, just so many moments, and what he means to the city of Boston,
yeah.
during when the Boston bombing happened, and
His
how big he
speech.
was to that. Yeah, his
Yeah,
speech to that, and
gosh.
it's in the fact that the fact that he was almost not even able to attend his own Hall of Fame speech because, of course, he got shot, like I think it was like a couple years ago now at this point.
Yeah,
And the fact that he clung on to life and was able to make it, it's pretty insane to think about.
powerful stuff. Man.
Yeah, so it's cool to see that. And I think another guy too that I personally want to talk about, just because, like, and I mean you can chime in too if you'd like, but
Yeah,
uh um Tim Kurchin was honored too.
yeah,
And I believe it was he was honored as the career excellence award. And Tim Kurchin, of course, reporter for ESPN after all these years. And I think, to me, it means a lot, just because growing up watching like Sunday Night Baseball, John Miller, Joe Morgan, like the dude's been there since the beginning. Tim Kurchin has, even before I obviously we started watching. But
yeah,
it's seeing reporters and stuff like that get honored like that. It's just awesome. And I've learned a lot of stuff over the years
yeah.
from Tim Kurchin, and his little tidbits that he has on Sunday Night Baseball. He has some of the quirkiest, most random stats, most random facts about guys. And yeah, it's just guys like that to get honored. It's cool, just because of what they've done for the game and what they've given back to the game, and what
Yeah,
the relationships they've had with the players. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it was cool to see that. And always like broadcasters getting honored too. It's just cool to see that too.
One of those voices that we grew up with, and
Yeah.
we think of baseball, we think of him. And I remember a few years ago, it was a couple of players, JP or Aaron Sebia and Tim Dillard, who did these impressions of him on ESPN and MLB Network, and it is the funniest thing in the world because you were talking about the random stats that he comes up with,
Mhm.
and they did like this whole skit about him, and it is so funny. And even when he saw it, he was cracking up too. So just I love it. I love it. He deserves to be honored, and it's just cool. Like it's cool. It's a cool community to be a part of when it comes to the baseball community. So great for him.
Yeah. And one more thing before we go. still they're talking more. We've been talking more about or the people have been talking more about Juan Soto and where he might go and stuff like that. And he had a tweet out because of the Derek Jeter documentary that came out. Derek Jeter tweeted out he said quote loyalty one way is stupidity. And Juan Soto retweeted that with just a period, but he ended up deleting it. So I think that really just says a lot of where Juan Soto and the Nationals are, and also with
Yeah,
the when on the there it was rumored that he wasn't even they didn't send him in a Nationals plane. He just went
yeah,
commercial,
yeah,
which is insane to me because not only is he a pillar of your franchise, but the fact that he helped you win the World Series, and you're not gonna send this guy to the All Star game in the way
right,
that he should. It's unbelievable. But on the other side of this, though, is there's a lot of teams in the mix. We said it last time: the Dodgers, the
yeah,
Yankees. A team we didn't mention is a team that some believe is a front runner, and that's the St. Louis Cardinals.
right,
And that would be just an absolute gut punch to the NL Central. Like,
yeah,
just to think that not only would the Cardinals solidify their shot at winning the NL Central, but the Cardinals would have him for the next 2 years, possibly if they extend him, obviously, have even more.
yeah.
Just what are your thoughts on that, and what do you think ultimately is going to happen in that?
Yeah, so that's interesting. I'm just now learning about the Cardinals part. I still believe that the Cardinals are a team that probably needs a few more arms in their bullpen. I think Juan Soto adds more to that already potent offense that they have. Um, oh, that'd be a nightmare for teams in the Central. That'd be a nightmare as if the NL Central isn't already struggling enough. Cool, make it worse for us, Thanos. So I think it's just yeah, there's all these teams are in the running for them. I think it's fair game. Like I said before, another thing that's being tossed around is that you know maybe he does want more money, but I don't know how much more money you can offer him. But if there's one thing that's clear, this is the player that wants to win. And if you lock him in and you're not winning now, he realizes, hey, I'm not gonna be winning for a while. So for him, it's not just about the money. It's I want to play on a team that's going to be competing because I want to win. And clearly the Nationals haven't been doing that since the World Series, and I think that's fair game. So fair game for every other team that is in the running for him. Bad move by the Nationals for not taking care of not only their star player but one of the main stars in baseball. So shame on them.
Yeah, and also the thing is too is like, and uh, Bryce Harper talked about it, or he's talked about it before. And the thing is that the Nationals offered him 450 mil. Yes,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
but that deal is just another type of deal where it involves deferred money for
yeah.
years. I mean, for example,
Mm-hmm.
Scherzer's still being paid by the Nationals, um, but it's like that. At first, I thought I was like, "That's a cool idea." Whatever, Bobby
Yeah,
Bonilla, for example.
right.
Um, but Bryce Harper made a good point saying that like you don't know what's going to happen in the future. You don't know if you're going to make it to a certain age, or you don't know if this and that. I
Yeah,
want my money now. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, when you kind of think about it, I'm like, yeah, what the hell's the difference, right? You're going to have
Right.
the money now. You can, store it and not use it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Yeah,
yeah, it's definitely maybe something that Soto took into account. And, Scott Boras, his agent, was like, probably like, you know what, get, a deal with higher annual value and less years. Maybe that's what he's looking for. Who knows? Um, Regardless if he does do a long year a multiple year deal, like 7 or 8 years, probably gonna get 500 mil. So yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see what the Nationals do when they try to trade him, what they try to get, because that what they expect back, rightfully so, is just a litter of prospects. So that's going to be something to watch out for. And one more thing before we go is that I just got a notification saying that the Mets are in talks with the Cubs to acquire Wilson and Robertson for prospects. Um, and to be honest, if we were gonna send them anywhere, that's one place I'm okay with because
Yeah, yeah,
guess where Pete Crow Armstrong came from? The
yeah,
Mets.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, and Steve Cohen is the type of guy who will do whatever it takes to get a guy. He's not going to shy away from giving away players and stuff like that. And their whole Mets organization, I should say, because they're trying to win now.
yeah, yeah.
So that's if we're gonna send them anywhere, that's a place um, to do it. So
Absolutely.
we'll see what happens. Um, but for that, I think we'll wrap it up right there. For another episode of At Bat Baseball Podcast, presented by War Media. This was Saul Rodriguez along with Miles Porter, and we will see you guys next week.